Mom's at it again, Ashora said, holding her phone toward me. I didn't want to look. My stomach already knew. There I was. My face twisted into something vacant, confused, lost. The photo had 847 likes on Instagram. The caption beneath it read, "When your mom doesn't understand how technology works." Clueless, mom, new boomer life. My daughter, Tina Anna, stood beside her own reflection in the mirror of my bedroom, watching my face as I stared at the image. She was waiting for my reaction, waiting to see if I'd cry or laugh or do whatever mothers were supposed to do when their children weaponize them for engagement. I set the phone down slowly, carefully, like it might shatter if I moved too quickly. The photograph wasn't recent. I recognized the sweater I'd been wearing, the cream-colored one with the pearl buttons that I'd bought 3 years ago. My hair was shorter then too, darker. This photo had been taken months ago, maybe longer. Tina Anna had captured me mid-question, my mouth open, my eyes slightly unfocused. I'd probably been asking about one of her social media apps. I'd probably been trying to understand something about her life. She turned that moment of vulnerability into content. That was the real shock. Not the single photo, but the realization that there might be others. That this wasn't an accident. That my daughter, the one who called me every Sunday at 7 o'clock, who let me buy her dinner when she visited, who said she loved me, had been deliberately staging these moments. I looked at Ashora. My older daughter stood in the doorway of my bedroom, her face tight with anger. She'd discovered the account by accident. A friend of hers had mentioned seeing photos of someone's confused mother, and Ashora had recognized me immediately. "There are more," Ashora said quietly. "A lot more." I made her show me, every single one. In one, I was holding my phone upside down while trying to take a selfie. Tina Anna had captioned it. "She still doesn't know which way the camera faces. Help me." 3,000 likes. In another, I was squinting at the television remote, my reading glasses on top of my head. "When your mom becomes a dinosaur trying to use modern technology. Generation gap." 2,200 likes. In a third, I was sitting at the dinner table with a confused expression, apparently not understanding why everyone was laughing at something on TikTok. My mom when she realizes she's officially old. Irrelevant. 1,500 likes. The pattern became clear as I scrolled through the feed. Tina Anna had created an entire account dedicated to mocking me. Not just one photo, not just a few moments of genuine confusion. This was systematic. This was intentional. This was my daughter, age 28 years old, building an audience by presenting her mother as a punchline. The account had been active for 9 months. 93,000 followers. 93,000 people who knew me only as the confused, clueless, irrelevant mother of Tina Anna Davis. I couldn't breathe properly. My chest felt compressed, like someone had wrapped bands of steel around my ribs. "How long have you known?" I asked Ashora. "Since this morning. I wanted to tell you in person. I didn't want you to find out from anyone else." I nodded. I couldn't think of anything else to do. Ashora sat down on the edge of my bed. "There's more, Mom. The comments. People are saying things, nasty things. Some of them are tagging you. Some are saying you deserve to be mocked because you're too old to be relevant anyway." I read some of the comments. They blurred together into a single, vicious chorus. "Your mom is pathetic. I'd be so embarrassed. She should just accept that she's past her prime. Honestly, she looks like she has dementia." That last one made something inside me crack. The worst part wasn't the mockery. The worst part was that I recognized the moments. I remembered each one. I remembered asking Tina Anna about her phone because she was always so absorbed in it, and I wanted to understand her world better. I remembered the confusion about the selfie camera because I'd been distracted that day, thinking about my job. I remembered not understanding the TikTok reference because I genuinely didn't know what everyone was laughing about, and I'd asked. Those moments of honest vulnerability, of trying to connect with my daughter, of admitting that I didn't understand something, she'd collected them like trophies and displayed them to the world as proof of my inadequacy. I called Tina Anna. She didn't answer. I called again. Still nothing. I sent a text. We need to talk, now. She responded 30 minutes later. I'm at work. Can this wait? Can this wait? My daughter had spent 9 months publicly humiliating me, and she wanted to know if this could wait until she was done at her marketing job. I drove to her office. It was a Wednesday afternoon in late September, and the sky had that particular shade of gray that made everything feel urgent and dangerous. I parked in the visitor section and walked through the glass doors of the building with my hands clenched into fists. The receptionist knew me. She'd seen me visit Tina Anna before. She smiled and waved me through without asking me to sign in. Tina Anna was at her desk when I found her. She looked up, and I watched her face shift through several emotions in rapid succession. Surprise, irritation, then something that looked almost like calculation. Mom, what are you doing here? I sat down in the chair across from her desk. My legs wouldn't hold me standing anymore. I know about the account, I said. Her face went pale. For a moment, she didn't move. Then she leaned back in her chair, and a smile appeared on her face. Not a real smile. The kind of smile someone makes when they're trying to control a situation. It's just a joke, Mom. It's not that serious. 93,000 people think I'm a punchline. You're overreacting. Lots of people make content about their parents. It's a whole genre. You staged those photos. You waited for moments when I was confused or vulnerable, and you deliberately captured them to mock me. I was just having fun. I didn't think you'd ever see it. Those words hit me harder than anything else she could have said. She didn't think I'd ever see it, which meant she knew it was wrong, which meant she'd done it deliberately, knowing that if I discovered it, I would be hurt. And she'd done it anyway, because the likes and the followers and the engagement were worth more to her than my dignity. How long? I asked. Since January, but it's not a big deal. People post stuff like this all the time. It is a big deal. You're my daughter. You're supposed to be on my side. I am on your side. This is just content. It's not personal. It's extremely personal. Those are photos of me. Those are moments from my life. You turned them into entertainment for strangers. Tina Anna stood up. She walked to the window and looked out at the city below. When she turned back to face me, her expression had hardened. You know what? I'm tired of being the responsible one. I'm tired of being the one who has to make you feel good about yourself. You're always asking me to explain things to you, always acting like you don't understand anything, always making me feel like I have to take care of you. This account is the first thing I've done in years that's just for me. And yes, it's about you. But it's not to hurt you. It's to finally have something that's mine. I stared at her. This was my daughter. The girl I'd stayed home with for the first 5 years of her life. The girl I'd taught to ride a bike, to read, to navigate the world. The girl I'd driven to school every morning, packed lunches for, helped with homework, supported through heartbreak and disappointment and all the small traumas of growing up. And she resented me. Not for anything I'd done to her, but for being a mother who needed her to understand that I was trying. I want you to delete it, I said. No. I'm not asking. I'm telling you. Delete the account. I won't. This is my account. My content. My followers. You don't get to tell me what to do with it. I'm your mother. Exactly. You're my mother. Which means you should understand that I'm an adult and I get to make my own choices. I left her office without saying anything else. There was nothing else to say. Somewhere in the drive home, I realized that my daughter had made her choice, and it wasn't me. That night, I called Ashaora. She came over immediately, bringing wine and her laptop. Together, we documented everything. Every photo, every caption, every cruel comment. I took screenshots of the account information, the follower count, the engagement metrics. I needed evidence. I wasn't sure what I would do with it yet, but I needed to know that I had it. You could report it, Ashaora said carefully. To Instagram. They have policies about harassment and exploitation. She's my daughter. I don't want to report her to Instagram. I want my daughter back. But I wasn't sure that daughter had ever existed. Maybe I'd imagined her. Maybe I'd created a version of Tina Anna in my mind that was more loving, more respectful, more capable of loyalty than the real person had ever been. The next morning, I woke up to discover that Tina Anna had blocked me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. She'd also blocked Ashaora. The message was clear. She was choosing the account over me. I did something then that I'd never done before in my adult life. I called my ex-husband, Tina Anna's father. We'd been divorced for 12 years. We weren't on bad terms, but we weren't close either. He'd remarried. He had a new life. But he needed to know what our daughter was doing. She's building an audience by mocking you, I told him. 93,000 people. And when I asked her to stop, she refused. There was a long silence on the other end of the line. I'll talk to her, he finally said. He called me back 3 hours later. She won't listen to me either. She says it's her right as an adult to create whatever content she wants. She says you're being controlling. Controlling. I was controlling because I didn't want my daughter to publicly humiliate me on the internet. I spent the next week in a state of shock. I called in sick to work. I couldn't face my coworkers. What if they'd seen the account? What if they'd been laughing at me too? What if the version of me that Tina Anna had created online was now the only version of me that existed in the world? Ashaora stayed with me most nights. She brought me food. She sat with me while I stared at the wall. She didn't try to fix it. She just bore witness to my destruction. On the 8th day, my phone rang. It was a producer from a morning talk show. They'd discovered Tina Anna's account and wanted to do a segment about the ethics of family content creation. They wanted me to come on the show and talk about my experience. They wanted to make this public. I hung up without responding, but the call terrified me. If a talk show producer had found the account, then it was only a matter of time before more people discovered it. More people would see those photos. More people would laugh at me. The humiliation would expand and expand until it consumed everything. I had to do something. I hired a lawyer. His name was Tomias Wilson, and he specialized in digital harassment and exploitation. I met with him in his office on a Thursday afternoon, and I brought all of my documentation with me. He listened to my story without interrupting. When I finished, he leaned back in his chair and steepled his fingers. Legally, this is complicated, he said. Your daughter is an adult. She owns the account. She has the right to post content. However, you may have grounds to pursue action based on the nature of the content itself. If she's deliberately portraying you in a false or defamatory light, if she's using your image without consent, if she's engaged in a pattern of harassment, these are all things we can potentially argue. What does that mean in practical terms? It means we can send her a cease and desist letter. We can demand that she remove all photos of you from the account. We can threaten legal action if she refuses. Sometimes the threat alone is enough to motivate compliance. And if it's not, then we escalate. We file a lawsuit. We argue that she's engaged in harassment, defamation, and exploitation of your image. We ask for damages. We ask for an injunction that prevents her from posting any more content featuring you. I nodded slowly. Do it. The cease and desist letter was sent on a Monday morning. Tinana received it at her office. She called me that same afternoon, her voice shaking with rage. You're suing me? Your own daughter? Over some stupid photos? I asked you to take them down. You refused. Because they're my content. They're my property. You don't get to control me. I don't want to control you. I want you to respect me. I want you to understand that what you did was wrong. What I did was build something. I built an audience. I built a career. And you're trying to destroy it because you're embarrassed. I'm not embarrassed. I'm hurt. There's a difference. She hung up. She didn't call back. 2 weeks later, Tina Anna's lawyer responded. They claimed that the photos were protected speech. They claimed that I was a public figure in my daughter's personal narrative, and therefore she had the right to portray me however she chose. They claimed that I was attempting to silence her through legal intimidation. The response was designed to provoke me. It was designed to make me feel like I was the villain in this story. And for a moment, it worked. For a moment, I wondered if I was overreacting, if I was being controlling, if I was trying to silence my daughter's voice. Then I looked at the photos again. I saw my own face, twisted into confusion and inadequacy, displayed for 93,000 strangers. And I knew that I wasn't overreacting. I was finally reacting appropriately. Tamias filed a lawsuit on my behalf. The case was titled Wilson versus Davis, and it alleged harassment, defamation, and unauthorized use of likeness. The media picked it up immediately. Suddenly, my private pain became public spectacle. The headlines were vicious. Mother sues daughter over Instagram account. Boomer mom takes legal action against daughter's social media content. Family feud goes digital. The articles didn't present the facts neutrally. They presented me as a bitter, controlling mother who couldn't handle being mocked on the internet. They presented Tina Anna as a young woman fighting for her right to create content. No one mentioned that she'd deliberately staged these moments. No one mentioned that she'd blocked me when I asked her to stop. No one mentioned the pattern of humiliation that had been building for 9 months. But some people did see it that way. I started receiving messages from other women, other mothers, who recognized what Tina Anna had done. They told me their own stories. A mother whose son had posted videos of her dancing, mocking her body. A mother whose daughter had created a TikTok account dedicated to her worst moments. A mother whose grandchildren had been taught to laugh at her as a source of entertainment. These women saw themselves in my story. And they were angry. The case went to court on a cold morning in November. The courtroom was packed. Media lined the hallways. Photographers waited outside the building. This had become more than a legal dispute between a mother and daughter. This had become a referendum on generational respect, on the ethics of family content creation, on the line between free speech and exploitation. I sat at the table next to Tamias, and I watched my daughter walk in with her own lawyer. She didn't look at me. She kept her gaze fixed straight ahead, her jaw clenched, her hands rigid at her sides. The judge was a woman named Avara Lee. She was in her 60s, I guessed, with gray hair and sharp eyes that seemed to see everything. She read through the case materials, and then she looked at both of us. This case raises important questions about the boundaries of family privacy and the ethics of content creation, she said. I've reviewed the photographs in question. I've read the captions. I've examined the engagement metrics, and I want to understand, from both parties, what you believe is at stake here. Tamia stood up and presented our case. He talked about the deliberate nature of the photographs. He talked about the pattern of humiliation. He talked about the fact that I'd asked Tina Anna to stop, and she'd refused. He talked about the emotional harm that had been caused. He presented expert testimony about the psychological impact of public humiliation on adults. Then, Tina Anna's lawyer stood up. She talked about free speech. She talked about the fact that Tina Anna was an adult creating content about her own life. She talked about the precedent it would set if we allowed parents to sue their adult children for social media content. She talked about the importance of protecting creators' rights. And then the judge asked to hear from us directly. I stood up. My legs felt unsteady, but I forced myself to remain upright. Your Honor, I'm not here to silence my daughter. I'm not here to prevent her from creating content. I'm here because my daughter deliberately mocked me for profit. She took moments of genuine vulnerability, moments when I was trying to connect with her, trying to understand her world, and she turned them into entertainment. She built an audience of 93,000 people who know me only as a punchline, and when I asked her to stop, she refused. She blocked me. She chose the likes and the followers over her relationship with her mother. That's what I'm here about. Not about free speech, about respect, about the basic dignity that family members owe each other. I sat down. My heart was hammering against my ribs, and I felt like I might be sick. The judge looked at Tina Anna. Do you want to say anything? Tina Anna stood up slowly. She looked at me for the first time since entering the courtroom. I created that account because I was angry, she said. I was angry that my mother was always asking me questions about my life, always trying to understand me, always making me feel like I had to explain myself. I was angry that she was aging, that she was becoming less relevant, that she was becoming less like the person I wanted her to be. So I created that account to prove that I could be relevant, that I could build something, that I could have power over the narrative. And yes, it was at her expense. But it was also for me. The honesty of it was devastating. She wasn't apologizing. She wasn't claiming she'd made a mistake. She was simply stating the truth. She had deliberately hurt me because it made her feel powerful. The judge leaned back in her chair. I'm going to take some time to consider this case. I'll have a ruling for you in 2 weeks. Those 2 weeks were the longest of my life. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. I existed in a state of suspended animation, waiting for the judge to decide whether my daughter's right to mock me on the internet was more important than my right to dignity. The ruling came on a Tuesday morning. The judge had decided in my favor. She ordered Tina Anna to remove all photographs of me from the account. She ordered Tina Anna to pay me $50,000 in damages. She issued an injunction that prevented Tina Anna from posting any future content featuring me or using my likeness in any way. And she included language in her ruling that acknowledged the harm caused by deliberate, systematic humiliation in the digital age. The respondent created a pattern of content designed to mock and humiliate the plaintiff. The judge wrote, while the respondent has the right to create content, that right does not extend to the systematic exploitation of family members for profit. The plaintiff has suffered demonstrable emotional harm. The respondent's actions were deliberate and calculated. Therefore, this court finds in favor of the plaintiff and orders the respondent to cease and desist immediately. I read the ruling 3 times. I couldn't quite believe it was real. Tina Anna appealed the decision, of course. She claimed the judge had overreached. She claimed that the ruling violated her free speech rights. She claimed that I was a controlling, bitter mother who couldn't accept that her daughter had moved on to a better life. But the appeal was denied. And then something unexpected happened. Other creators started speaking out. They talked about the ethics of family content. They talked about the harm caused by mocking loved ones for engagement. They talked about the line between humor and exploitation. And slowly, gradually, the conversation shifted. Tina Anna's account lost followers. Brands that had been interested in sponsoring her pulled out. The media that had initially portrayed me as the villain started asking harder questions about the ethics of what she'd done. She eventually deleted the account herself. She didn't announce it. She didn't make a statement. She just quietly took it down, as if erasing the evidence would erase what had happened. But the damage was done. The photos existed. The screenshots existed. The record of what she'd done existed. And I existed, forever changed by what my daughter had done to me. I took the $50,000 and I used it to start a support group for parents who'd been exploited on social media. I called it Dignity in the Digital Age, and I met with other mothers and fathers who'd had their privacy violated, their vulnerabilities mocked, their aging bodies and confused moments turned into content for strangers. We shared our stories. We supported each other. We learned that we weren't alone. And we learned that what had happened to us was not a reflection of our worth. It was a reflection of a culture that had decided that engagement was more important than respect, that likes were more valuable than loyalty, that strangers' laughter was worth more than family bonds. 6 months after the ruling, Ashaora called me. "Tina Anna wants to talk to you," she said. I wasn't sure I wanted to talk to her. But I agreed to meet her at a coffee shop near my house. Neutral territory. Witnesses present. She looked different when I saw her. Smaller, somehow. Diminished. She sat down across from me, and she didn't try to smile or pretend that everything was fine. "I'm sorry," she said. "I know that doesn't fix anything. I know that doesn't undo what I did. But I'm sorry." I didn't respond immediately. I was trying to figure out if I believed her. I was trying to figure out if an apology was enough to repair what had been broken. "Why?" I finally asked. "Why did you do it?" "Because I was scared," she said. "I was scared that I was becoming like you, that I was aging, that I was becoming less relevant. And I thought if I could make you irrelevant first, I could stop it from happening to me. I could prove that I was different, that I was better, that I mattered more. And did it work? No, it made everything worse. It made me feel like a terrible person. It cost me my relationship with you. It cost me my career, basically. And it didn't stop me from aging. It didn't stop me from becoming less relevant. It just made me someone I didn't want to be." I looked at my daughter, and I saw the person she'd been before the account. The person who'd called me every Sunday. The person who'd let me buy her dinner. The person who'd said she loved me. But I also saw the person who'd deliberately mocked me. The person who'd chosen engagement over respect. The person who'd blocked me when I'd asked her to stop. "I don't know if I can forgive you," I said. "I know. I don't expect you to. I just wanted you to know that I understand what I did was wrong, and I'm trying to be better." We didn't reconcile that day, but we didn't close the door completely either. We agreed to try. We agreed to start slowly. We agreed to rebuild what had been broken, knowing that it would never be the same as it had been before. It's been 2 years now since the ruling. Tina Anna and I have dinner together once a month. We're careful with each other. We don't talk about the account, or the lawsuit, or the photos. We talk about her job, my job, Ashaora's life, the world around us. We're learning how to be mother and daughter again, but in a different way than we were before. I don't trust her the way I did. I don't believe that she has my best interests at heart the way I once did. But I've learned to accept that people are complicated. People can love you and hurt you at the same time. People can be your family and also be strangers who don't quite understand who you are. The support group has grown. We have 47 members now, and we meet twice a month. I've been interviewed by journalists about the case. I've been asked to speak at conferences about digital ethics and family privacy. My pain has been transformed into purpose. But the real victory wasn't the lawsuit or the money or the ruling. The real victory was reclaiming my dignity. It was refusing to accept that my daughter's mockery was the truth about me. It was standing up and saying that I mattered, that my feelings mattered, that my right to be treated with respect was more important than anyone's right to mock me for likes. Today, I look at myself differently than I did 2 years ago. I still don't understand how half of Tina Anna's apps work. I still ask questions that make people laugh. I still have moments of confusion and vulnerability, but those moments are mine. They're not content. They're not entertainment. They're not proof of my irrelevance. They're just moments. Moments of being human. Moments of trying. Moments of connecting with the world around me. And no one gets to turn those moments into a punchline without my permission. If you've been exploited on social media, if your privacy has been violated, if your family has turned your vulnerability into content, know that you're not alone. Your dignity matters. Your boundaries matter. And you have the right to protect them.